They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge of name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for hidden wounds, undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall for justice and truth, we'll risk it all. My life mattered is the cry we sing. Together we rise, let freedom ring. They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge of name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. justice seekers will fight the fight. The hidden wounds undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall. For justice and truth, we'll risk it all. My life mattered is the cry we sing. Together we rise, let freedom ring.
Hello, good evening, social change warriors and justice seekers. Welcome to another edition of Social Change Warriors series, Victim Advocacy, Calling Out Corruption. My Life Mattered. So good to have you all back again on another Wednesday with us. As most of you know who join us weekly, we live stream on some Wednesdays, some Thursdays, and every Friday. And I am a retired police officer and a community social worker, and now I am a victim advocate for those who have lost their lives at the hands of someone else, and their death has not been solved. Either they are still missing or they do not have a person in custody. There are still persons of interest or suspects, and the family is left just grappling with their pain and how to proceed forward. And many of these cases are dragging out, they're stalling, they're taking forever to solve. That's how it would feel if it were my human that had been unalived at the hands of someone else. So we are a victim advocacy channel and a volunteer program. We help families the best we can in any way they ask us to. If it's to look at police reports, look at the autopsy, look at witness statements, anything we can to give them another set of eyes on the horrific tragedy that has just completely overtaken their family with the loss of their loved one. And we appreciate all of you that have subscribed to our channel and that like us every time we live stream, watch us in the replay, I should say on the replay, and come to our live sessions with us and help us out in our friend zone chat box area, as YouTube calls it. We like to call it our friend zone because we appreciate all your comments. We appreciate it when you are with us live. And hi, Screaming Daisies, welcome tonight. And to anyone else that comes live with us on Wednesdays, I really appreciate your thoughts and comments in our friend zone. And to you on the replay, please, any thoughts, comments, suggestions, you can email them to me. My email will float up underneath the moving bar underneath where it says knowledge, power, action, change. I kind of change that information bar throughout the night. And you're welcome to email me with questions or ideas, or feel free to put those on the replay chat. You can chat on the replay on YouTube as well. So thank you, everyone. What we're going to be looking into tonight is we'll be doing a little bit of a review towards the end, and we have a new situation that has crossed my desk that I've been giving some attention to for the past few months, thanks to some of you that follow me with the Sarah Ebersol case over in Marion County. And I appreciate that you have let me know what's going on over there. It's very sad, I guess would be the best way to put it. And so I don't really feel much like I normally do on Wednesdays. Tonight is our Angry Bitch Club, where we can talk and bitch and whine and complain all we want, and no one can tell us to quit bitching or to quit whining and complaining, because that's what Wednesdays are for. Thursdays, we try to look into these cases deeper by reading the police reports and studying them to the best of our ability and advocating for the family on Thursdays. But Wednesdays is our night just to roll it all out and complain as much as we want to, be angry or sad or mad or whatever we need to be. So we're going to get into the life of this beautiful young woman who unfortunately and sadly and tragically lost her life while in custody in the Marion County jail system. Her name was and is to her family, I hope I say this right, dear family, Maniesa Fletcher. And Maniesa was only 29 years old, and she lost her life in custody for what I have come to learn in the last few days, an extremely ridiculous small issue that landed her originally in jail. I don't even understand, and I'm going to hopefully get the police report soon, why she was even put in jail for this type of a crime. And allegedly, that's what I'm hearing from many of you that have posted on Facebook that I was able to read and catch up a little bit about what happened to dear Maniesa. It sounds like she had a lot of friends, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing her name. I haven't been able to contact anyone yet that I have spoken with to give me that correct pronunciation, so I'm doing the best I can. So Miss Fletcher, we are so sorry for what happened to you. So sorry that your life was taken by the hands of someone else, is what it sounds like, because of malfeasance and inappropriate treatment that you received, from what I can see so far. But I have not spoken to anyone at the jail yet. I don't have police reports yet. This is a brand new tragedy that's, like I said, was passed on to me by someone who was letting me know how many people have been passing away in the Marion County Jail. And that's very disturbing. It should be disturbing to all of us. So as I was saying earlier, a few minutes ago, Wednesdays is our night to kind of bitch and complain about just utter crap that's going on in many of your communities, corruption and cases not being solved for reasons that make no sense to most of the family members. And I am, as I told you, I'm a retired police officer and a master's in social work. My specialty was domestic violence, homicide, and survivors of domestic violence, working in domestic violence shelters as a volunteer for many years. And my background is also in journalism. So this advocacy and live streaming works out for me very well. And I can do this as a volunteer because I'm retired, and I just want to give back to my communities where I'm living now in Florida and where I came from in Wisconsin, and to your communities when you enlighten me about your plight and about the tragedy of your loved one. That's why we're here, and that's what we're up to. So we're grateful to have you. We're grateful to have you helping us advocate, because whenever a family member is taken from you by the hands of someone else, there absolutely has to be justice for you. You have to have that, because you're grieving, you're lost without this person now. You have to figure out how your new normal is going to look in the future. And that pain is riveting. I know I've experienced tragic loss in my family, not to homicide, but to tragedy nonetheless. And I know how that feels. And there's really no justice for some of these deaths of our family members. But in the case of an unaliving by the hands of someone else, there is that avenue. There is that avenue for justice, and you deserve it. Your family member deserves it. So tonight we're going to be going over what happened, of what I know so far. I'm brand new to this, and I'll have more information next Wednesday. I'm just going to roll back here a little bit from, I played our theme song for you at the beginning of our hour. And I came up with the Angry Bitch Club because I wanted a night to be mad, because Thursdays I have to focus. I have to read your police reports. I need to speak with you. I need to speak with other witnesses possibly. I need to go over everything when I live stream on Thursdays and on the days that I work on this during the day. But I needed a night just to vent with all of you and to complain a little bit and to just be sad about the tragedies that all of these people have been put through, their families, and the tragedy that has fallen on your loved ones. They should still be here with you. No one ever has the right to take your life from you. And that's how I came up with our hashtag, My Life Mattered, because that's what I believe your loved one is telling us from above, from heaven. If you believe in heaven, if not, wherever they are, my life mattered. And I need you to do something about this. I need you to recruit advocates, and you need to keep my name in their mouth and advocate for me and make sure the police solve my case. Find me if I'm missing, because my life mattered. And our other hashtag is Just Us, after my dear mother, who worked for the Department of Justice in Wisconsin her entire career. And she always told me that sometimes there's no justice, but there is just us, and we can get as much of it as we want. We just have to fight for it sometimes. And there is no speedy justice, none, because we're fighting sometimes against untrained detectives, police officers that got promoted too soon and they don't do their job right. We're fighting against corruption in some communities, like what's happening in Massachusetts and Stoughton and Canton and surrounding areas. So there's no fast road to justice. So we have to remember that and stay as patient as we can while we advocate for everyone. And sugar alert, we like to swear a little on Wednesdays. We're not monetized, so YouTube can't take anything from us. We're just a volunteer organization. I do accept Cash App and Venmo donations, but only small amounts just to help with costs of the program. I don't like to take anything. And if the families need us for help with printing materials, missing flyers, or ordering police reports, I like to have a little bit in my fund to help the families when I can. So we do not monetize on YouTube or any other monetization. So we get to swear a little bit on Wednesdays because we're mad and we're angry and we're tired of this. We're tired of being given the runaround, of not being told the truth, tired of our loved ones, tired of them not getting their cases not getting solved for the families. So we do have a little trigger alert that we tend to get. We let a little swear words fly on Wednesdays. So I appreciate you being here tonight. Our other kind of slogan on Wednesdays is the bees got to buzz, because we're the angry bees and we need to buzz a little bit. And that's what we're doing here on Wednesdays. And we are always standing on Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, any night. We work during the day, sometimes during the day or at night. We're always standing for victims of domestic violence and survivors of domestic violence. It's a preventable, horrific atrocity on women. And we have to continue to fight for women who have been harmed by their loved ones, whether it be a family member or a spouse or a boyfriend or a fiance, whatever the case may be. But every 9 seconds in our country, a woman is beaten. And so at the end of our hour, we'll count off that 9 seconds as a reminder of how often a woman is getting struck or beaten by someone she loves. And that has to stop. We have to figure this out. We have to prevent domestic violence, whatever we have to do. It is curable. Men who have temper, anger management issues, many times it's curable. It's called counseling. It's called therapy. And if they're willing to go into it, it can work. But it takes a willing participant. And unfortunately, many men are not willing to go into therapy. And I say men because my specialty is in domestic violence, man on woman. I am not ignorant of the fact that there are men on men domestic violence in families and in relationships, as well as women on women. That's just not my specialty. And I focused in on man on woman because that is the huge majority. It's close to over 90% of domestic violence cases are a man on a woman. So, but my condolences to any of you that have suffered any domestic violence from any person, family member, or partner in your life. And we will continue to advocate for all victims of domestic violence and their families and the survivors. Of all domestic violence, female homicides in 2018, this was a new study that I read not that long ago that is relatively new. Studies take a lot of time and they come out in varying stages. 92% of victims that were killed by a man they knew. So it's not the stranger danger. It's really not what you've been told throughout all your life. Do we still have to be careful? Absolutely we do. But we also have to remember that this is a high percentage of deaths that are happening to women by a man they knew. And 63% of that 92 is their husband, their ex-husband, their boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, fiance, ex-fiance, someone who's trying to date them, on and on. So this is an epidemic in our country, and we have to continue to shout very loud about it and try to bring these numbers down. Numbers they're cold. This is a human life that's been taken. This is Suzanne Morphew on the left with her hand on her head. This is Ellen Greenberg with the dark hair, and Sandra Birchmore down at the bottom with the light brown hair. They were human beings. They were your family members. You loved them. My life mattered, they're telling us. But we have to tell you the numbers because we need to know and understand the scope of the problem that we're dealing with. So that's why we do talk about numbers at times. This week, we're going to focus in on a little bit this week. I have to learn a lot more about this. I'm just new to this, but I wanted to bring it out tonight to get started on it because I'm very alarmed at the amount of deaths that are taking place at the Marion County Jail, which is just 2 hours to my west. So this is something that I can possibly do on the ground with advocacy, possibly go over and have a meeting. I've already spoken to the Marion County sheriffs many times regarding Sarah Ebersol. Where is Sarah Ebersol is the advocacy that her family, her sister, and myself, and many, many, many of Sarah's soldiers in Florida and Marion County and Volusia County and the surrounding area, Gainesville, Ocala, Jacksonville. There's so many of us advocating to find Sarah, a missing mother of a young child who was completely taken from this world. And that is what we believe by a nefarious means. There's no way we believe that she wandered off or that she purposely ran away or purposely just left and has a new identity somewhere. There's no way that happened. She was taken. Someone either has her and has had her, or they unalived her and we haven't found her yet. So that is a case that I've been following for almost a year. And you can check out our, if you go to our YouTube channel, Social Change Warriors, and you go to the live button, if you go under the lives, that's where you'll see all the lives we've done on Sarah Ebersol. We've done many with Michelle, Sarah's sister, who is her biggest and hugest advocate. You can find Michelle's page on Facebook, and or if you can't find it, just type in Sarah Ebersol. It's going to come up. So we'll be showing Sarah's slide again at the end of the night for the spelling, if you're not familiar with the missing persons case of Sarah Ebersol out of Reddick, Florida, Marion County, Florida. So working on this case with Sarah and her family, that's how I came to the knowledge from several of you sending me private messages that there's a problem in Marion County, and that there's a lot of unsolved cases. There's a lot of missing persons cases that have never been solved. And there's a lot of situational issues going on in the Marion County Jail with people dying in their custody. And that should be a low number as it is nationally. If someone's in jail, they still have the right to be treated with respect and decency, and their life shouldn't be in danger when they're in jail. It's horrific, whatever they've done to get them to jail. Some of them are not violent crimes. They are white collar crimes or petty thefts or burglaries or stealing cars. There's all level of crimes that go on in this world, as you all know, from felonies to misdemeanors to city ordinances. There's a number of things, hundreds and hundreds of things people can get in trouble for and end up in the county jail or into a state system jail or a federal prison if they commit a felony. But they are safe in there, allegedly, because they're paying for their crime and they've been convicted by a jury of their peers, or they've pled guilty and were given a sentence by a judge. But they are allowed, sorry, my allergies are acting up something fierce today. They are allowed that element of safety because they're in jail serving their sentence, however long that might be. And they're also supposed to be treated for any medical conditions, medical illnesses. They shouldn't be dying in our jails and our prisons because they're not being given the proper medical care. And that goes for psychiatric care as well. If they're in jail because they committed a crime that was committed because they were in duress because of a psychiatric issue, that should have been dealt with during their either their trial or whatever, their pre-trial conference. If they were in jail awaiting further charges or awaiting a trial, their mental health should be attended to. They shouldn't be suffering in there with mental health issues that cause them to, let's say, get in trouble while they're in jail and then add on charges to a minimal crime. And that is what we're dealing with Maniesa Fletcher. And it's really egregious to me. And again, I'm new at this case. I'm sorry if I misspeak anything to the family, because I'm hopefully going to reach out to you. I've reached out to some of your family and friends on Facebook, and I'll continue to do so because I would like to know your side of this horrific tragedy. I'm also have reached out to Marion County via an email to the records department. They know me well from Sarah Ebersol. I've requested meetings. I've had meetings with sergeants and a lieutenant and a detective, and they're going to say, oh no, here comes that social change warriors lady again. But that's okay, because that's what I'm doing. That's my advocacy role right now, is to ask questions, to figure out what's going on, to request the police reports. So that's what we're going to do. And I'll be starting that right away tomorrow during the day with my advocacy time tomorrow. Hopefully I'll be hearing back. I did hear back relatively quickly when I asked for the redacted police reports for Sarah Ebersol. Again, redacted because her case is still open and ongoing. So they won't give me the full police reports. They'll only give me some of the pages and they'll be redacted. So out of 300 some odd pages at the time, almost 6 months ago, they sent me 31 and they were all redacted because Sarah Ebersol's case is considered open, even though there doesn't appear to be any movement whatsoever in their investigation, or they're not sharing it, which they should share a little bit just to keep the public okay, because the public's not okay with what's going on right now with Sarah Ebersol. She's been missing for 2.5 years, and the public is crying out for justice, and they want to know what's happening or what's going on. Now, the police can only share so much because they don't want to taint the integrity of the investigation, but you also have to share a little bit, because when you've got this many people advocating for Sarah, you need to at least tell us, give us some breadcrumbs as to what your investigation is looking like. And now that it appears that the media has been writing up more articles in the area of Ocala and Marion County regarding the deaths that are happening while people are in custody at the Marion County Jail, and the most recent being Maniesa Fletcher in March. So again, I just learned of this, and now we're in August. So I apologize. I wish I had learned of this sooner. I would have already been on it, because nobody should be sitting in county jail for a alleged shoplifting of $13 and some odd cents. What in the heck is going on? I mean, that's number one, a problem right there. And if she was having some type of a mental health crisis, that should have been figured out. That's your job. You're trained to decipher if someone's having a mental health crisis and they need to be Baker Acted, which is what it's called in many states. In other states, it's called an emergency detention. That's your job. And if you can't figure that out, then you err on the side of caution and you take that person to the hospital, where a doctor can assess that person and what's happening to them. Are they having some type of a mental health crisis that led them to commit a crime? You don't just arrest and put this person in county jail and let her sit there for months on end. And then while she's having a mental health crisis, in your opinion, she breaks a law within the jail, and then you add more charges on to someone who's already suffering. How does that make any sense whatsoever? That's not a 1 + 1 = 2 at all. So all of what I know so far, which is minimal, has me very concerned and very, very upset for her family and her friends and loved ones. So, like I was saying, what I have learned is really just the very gist of what what happened to this person, Miss Fletcher, and I definitely want to look into this more in the next coming weeks. So my goal for that is to ask for the police reports, because if this case is closed. Now, if it's open, they're not going to give it to me, because there should be some type of a report. Might not necessarily be a police report. It might be a jail report. And I'll ask for whatever I can get. But if this case is open, if they're still looking into her death in a death investigation manner, then they will only give me redacted information or none at all. So that's what I'm going to figure out in the next coming work days, is getting a hold of someone there that can give me some more answers. The other thing is that I was reading an article, and I'm going to try to pull that up for you here. Just a moment. I'm going to just block the camera for a second so I can pull up the article. They were asking for any of you that have lost a person in custody at the Marion County Jail to give the journalists permission, and I'll let you know what newspaper that is here in a minute. It's the Ocala, but I don't remember the name of it. Permission for medical records, release of medical records, because the jail is not cooperating with the journalists, and they're not getting any type of medical information on what happened to your loved one. So if you want to help with this, review of what's going on in the Marion County jails, you can help by allowing the investigative journalists, and that includes me as an advocate, to look at what happened to your loved one, and you can request the medical record from the hospital where they were taken as a family member. Hi, Hannah. Hi, Screaming Daisies again. Welcome. So let me go, give me a second so I can go to the page I need to be on in order to, I want to read you this article that I found, because this is where I'm getting most of my information so far on Maniesa. So I'll be right with you. I'm here. I'm just in this little back room that's like the production room, where I have to go to share a screen with you, to share an article with you that I want to show you. This is from the Ocala Gazette. So that is where I will read this to you. It's by Jennifer Hunt Murdy. I actually emailed the Gazette today and told them what I'm up to with my advocacy. So let me come back here into the main room with y'all, where I can share my screen. And it'll be hard for you to see, but I want to share it with you so that way we have accountability for what I'm looking at. So let me find this for you and share my screen. Now you should see what I'm seeing, which is the Gazette. So let me pull that up in a little bit. Let me make that bigger for you. Hang on a second. See if it'll let me on this page. Get a little bigger. I think that's the best I'm going to get. Okay. So I'm just going to read you this article. I wanted you to see where I got this from. This is the Ocala Gazette. And I'm going to read this to you, and we're going to unpack this a little bit together. So I am going to reach out to Jennifer. She's got an email here, and tell her that I want to help and that I want to advocate for any of the people that have died in the custody of the Marion County Jail. Now, again, some of them would be of natural causes, possibly not the fault of anything that happened with the jail, but their rate is so high compared to other jails in the United States. It's alarming. So they have 4 times as many deaths in custody than other jails in the country. So this was posted on August 5th, so just yesterday. Newly released records indicate that a woman inmate at the Marion County Jail, whose death was reportedly due to complications from epilepsy, had numerous altercations with correction officers during which she was repeatedly hit with pepper spray while struggling with apparent psychotic episodes. Now, I just spoke of this, that if there is an issue with issues to do with anybody having mental health crisis, this should be looked into. The jail should have called someone in from the hospital in the mental health ward of the hospital, the psychiatric unit. They should have been called in out of the gate if she was showing any signs of being in any kind of mental health distress. Now, this is why we need to see the records and reports written by the jailers, now what am I thinking of? Well, in most states, the sheriffs work in the jails. So I don't know exactly how Florida works, but in Wisconsin, where I'm from, the Dane County Sheriff's Department works in the Dane County Jail. And in the other counties, Jefferson County, Monroe County, if they have their own jails, then the Sheriff's Department has employees that work in the jail. Some of their sheriffs work out on the road in their squad cars, and some of them work in the jail. So there should be reports that are written when there's activity with an inmate that is violent. So reports always have to be written. Everything has to be documented. So this is my concern, is if she was having any type of mental health crisis when she was first brought in for, again, shoplifting under $20, under $15. So why is she being jailed? And if she was showing any signs of mental distress, why wasn't she taken to the hospital for evaluation? These are all questions I'm sure the family has asked and possibly has not gotten answers to yet. So we're going to try our best to help them in any way we can. So we're just going to finish reading this article and we're going to unpack it paragraph by paragraph so we can all make sense of this at the best we can, because so far it's making zero sense at all. This young woman should be alive, and I'm grateful to Jennifer Hunt Murdy for her investigative journalism. So Maniesa Fletcher, 21, died after being jailed on a misdemeanor charge stemming from an alleged $13.95 shoplifting incident at an Ocala convenience store. An altercation with correction officers in the jail led to felony charges against her. So this is what I was talking about. If she's having altercations in the jail because she's terrified and she's having a mental health crisis, so she's terrified and she's scared, and then you're going to slap felony charges against her? I mean, this is just outrageous and absolutely ridiculous. Now, again, I don't have the jail's reports. I want to see those. I want to see what they are saying. But no matter what they're saying, if this woman was having a mental health crisis from the get-go, from the minute she was in there, if there was repeatedly altercations where they were spraying her with pepper spray, she needs to be taken to a hospital. She needs a psychiatric evaluation. This is insane. This is utterly insane what's going on here with this poor woman for a $13.95 shoplifting incident. This should never happen. Miss Fletcher passed away at Advent Health Ocala Hospital on March 14th after being transferred from the jail. Fletcher's brother said the family had been notified by the Marion County Sheriff's Office that Fletcher was brain dead the day before she was pronounced deceased at the hospital. Oh, this is just horrible. I'm so sorry to the Fletcher family and friends. Fletcher had been held at the jail since September 10th of 2024. First on the petty theft-related charges. While in jail, the incident with correction officers on September 19th in the infirmary led to charges of assault on a law enforcement officer and depriving an officer of a weapon or communication device. Okay, well, maybe she did do these things, but again, something is going on. She's not well. She's sick. So why are you not taking that into consideration? This makes me super mad. Now I'm back into my angry bitch club mode. My sad angry bitch club is now over. Now the angry bitch club is coming out. This makes me angry. I'd love to hear from any of you that are with me live right now. If you have anything you want to add or say, please chime in. If you don't, that's okay too. I never ever expect people to write in our friend zone area, only if they feel comfortable. But now I started out the night having a hard time being angry and mad because I felt so sad about this young woman. When I read about her, it just dampened my anger. But now I'm angry because this is not right. This should not be happening. This is 2025. We know what we're doing now. There have been jails and prisons in place since the dawn of time. So there should be protocols and procedures for everything that we do when a person's life has been taken away from them, because literally once you're arrested, you are no longer free. You are no longer free to come and go, to live your life. You are in custody. You are in a jail cell. If they so deem that you don't get bail or you don't get released for your crime, and there's no preliminary hearing in a timely manner that allows you to have a lawyer and set bail for whatever crime you've been charged. So this is maddening to me, and it should make all of us angry and upset. Let me take a breath. This makes me really upset. There's no reason why someone having mental health concerns should have been treated this way right out of the gate. This is just wrong, just so wrong. All right, let me go back to the article here. And thank you again to the Ocala Gazette for allowing me to share this, and the writer, Jennifer Hunt Murdy, who will email tomorrow. I've already emailed the paper. Oh my gosh. So Fletcher is the 31st person to die in Marion County Sheriff's Office jail custody since 2021. Nationally, an average of about 1.40 deaths per 1,000 incarcerated people occur annually, according to the National Institutes of Health. The annual average of deaths at the Marion County Jail, however, is 4.4 deaths per 1,000 inmates, nearly 4 times the national average. And that's what I spoke of at the beginning of the hour. That really hit me when I read that a couple of days ago. I was stunned by that, because that's a huge amount. Now, it might not seem that much to all of you, 4.4 deaths per 1,000. But remember, nobody should be dying in jail unless they die of old age. And the occasional issues where there is a fight that breaks out and another inmate attempts to harm, hurt, or take out the life of another inmate. And that does happen. And that is probably what's accounting for this 1.4 per 1,000. Some of those are natural causes, either old age or health-related concerns. And some of them may be homicide in jail, which happens. So, and as you know, the Epstein case has been out in the media again a lot. I mean, it has been pretty much since the time Jeffrey Epstein was arrested, but he supposedly took his own life in jail, allegedly. That's something I won't speak of tonight, but I will at some point, because I have my opinions on that, and they're pretty strong. I don't believe that at all. So I believe that was one of those, like Jeffrey Dahmer, who was a serial killer out of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, my home state, and someone unalived him in jail. That does happen, and that's what this 1.40 deaths per 1,000 is comprised of, is natural causes, old age, and attempted, homicide by another inmate. But 4.4 per 1,000, that's 4 times. That's too much. And this has to be looked into. There has to be some accountability for this. There has to be some checks and balances in this. This next paragraph says, in recent months, the Gazette has been chronicling incidents of inmates dying at the jail, often under circumstances indicating lax or incomplete medical care. Again, that's not acceptable. Absolutely not acceptable. And it needs to be looked into, and it needs to be rectified immediately. And that also, medical care is the umbrella for psychiatric care as well, not just for a health issue relating to their body, but also health issues relating to their mind. Fletcher's family said they believe she was not given proper medical care at the jail. They said Fletcher experienced seizures and episodes of psychosis, for which she received treatment at the Vines Hospital, a mental health clinic in Ocala. So in an investigative report following Fletcher's death, authored by the MCSO, that's the Marion County Sheriff's Office, Corporal H. McMurray, hospital staff thought Fletcher died from cardiac arrest. However, the medical examiner's autopsy report indicated the cause of death was complications from epilepsy. So they were wrong, and thank goodness that there was an autopsy, because in many cases, families can't afford an autopsy, or one isn't ordered by the family or by the investigative team. So this is very, very concerning. And the jail was obviously, I would assume, well aware that she had been treated for this before this alleged shoplifting incident. Let me come back and see if any of you have anything you want to add. Hannah, thank you, Hannah. Hannah says, this is absolutely devastating. Marion County needs to be investigated. The corruption that goes on here is vile. And yes, because this isn't the only level. We're also dealing with other cases that have not been solved, and nobody understands why. There's no accountability for why they're not solving some of these cases of missing that are in Marion County, and homicides that were just written off as a drug overdose or as a health concern when there was other evidence pointing to domestic violence in one of our cases, which is Justice for Cody. We've been in touch with her mother, and we've had her mother on our live stream. And we will again, because we just started to get to the tip of the iceberg of what happened to Cody. And then I had to take some time off in July for my health and for the 4th of July and my travels. So I do need to get back with Cody's mom and figure out where that stands, because her case is very suspect. For me, for what I was able to get from Cody's mother, it did not look like she died of natural causes. Anything relating to drugs, in my opinion, it looked as if she had been struck or possibly beaten up and was hurt in that manner. So that's another case out of Marion County that is unsolved, in my opinion, even though it's a closed case, because they wrote it off as a health issue, and I believe they blamed it on drugs. If I'm not wrong, Cody's mom can correct me, because I'm still learning that. Cody's tragic death as well. So thank you, Hannah. And Hannah also says, yet people that are evil, like Joseph Merlin Mayton, are just free to make more victims. Shame on Marion County. Governor DeSantis needs to get his shit together and protect the citizens in Florida. Thank you, Hannah. And Hannah has been following many of our cases out of Florida. She is located in Missouri and is a survivor. And we are going to be letting you know, Hannah wrote a book about her survival from domestic violence. We've had her on our live stream a few times, advocating for other survivors and telling us her survival story. And now she's part of a new project. So I'm going to let you know about that here in a few minutes when I'm done with my briefing on Miss Fletcher. So thank you so much for being here tonight, Hannah. Let me know if you want to come on the platform. Otherwise, I'll just play your message to me that you left for me, and I can play that over the speaker about the book that you're involved with right now, which sounds fascinating and amazing for women who need to have a voice, who deserve to have a voice. All right, let's go back to the article and see what else our very interesting investigative journalist has come up with here. So in an investigative report, so we read that already, sorry, that has to do with the cause of death with complications from epilepsy, not from cardiac arrest. The decedent had a deep brain stimulator implant, which was connected to a device in her chest. There was no known history of suicidality, illicit drugs use, or prescription drug abuse. She did not use tobacco products, and she drank alcohol a few times per year, so very infrequently. The decedent was never married and had no children, wrote Raymond Davis, an investigator for the medical examiner's office. So the jail most certainly should have known that they had a person in their custody who had mental health concerns and had this type of implant, which obviously needs care and concern and monitoring. Fletcher's father, Ivor Fletcher, confirmed his daughter was not historically suicidal and did not abuse substances. Her stepmother, Stephanie Dufreites, I hope I said that right, said Fletcher was kind and would tutor the little kids in the family and worried about using a shock collar on the family's large German Shepherd. If you have heard of all the, if you could have heard all of the people talking about her at her funeral, she was loved. And this is obviously horrible for the family, horrible for the friends. This should not have happened. There is absolutely no excuse that I can see right now at all that someone in the custody of Marion County who had these type of health concerns should have even been kept in jail for a $13 and some odd cents misdemeanor. This is a very big problem. She was smart. She knew her own medications and what she needed to take. She complained to us when she was out on bond for a short period that they weren't giving her the correct medications, her father said. This is just heartbreaking. Her mother, who lives in Jamaica, is grieving the loss of her daughter, and that this loss has taken a toll on their entire family. Of course it has. Of course it has. This is just this tragic. Again, you should not expect, if your family member has committed a crime, that they are not treated properly for their health concerns and their mental health concerns while in the custody, awaiting for either a pretrial conference or their trial if their bail was denied. Why is bail denied for a misdemeanor shoplifting offense? If that's the case, I don't know yet because I haven't seen the reports, but I need to see them. I need to make sense of all this because none of it's making sense for me right now. So according to this, Fletcher had been arrested at least twice before the incident that landed her behind bars last September. One time at the Vines Hospital when she ignored a trespass warning and tried to grab an Ocala Police Department officer's taser. So if that is true, then that is dangerous, obviously, and dangerous for the officer. So obviously I can understand where there would have to be some intervention there. But if you're at the Vines Hospital and you're dealing with someone who has psychiatric care needs, then these type of things could happen. I mean, the hospital staff is highly trained there for when people have schizophrenic episodes or out-of-body experiences where they're seeing things and hearing voices. These are traumatic for the patient as well as for the staff. But to punish this woman by putting her in regular population jail when you know she already has mental health concerns, this is happening too much in our society right now. We're using jails for mental health purposes. And that's not acceptable because jails do not have the capacity for this. They do not have the staff for this type of services that people with mental health concerns, especially schizophrenia, and people that are hearing voices and seeing things need to have. So we have a real breakdown here in our society where it comes to caring for those of us amongst us that are having mental health emergencies. And some of these emergencies are lifelong. They are diagnosed with a lifelong condition that can cause these emergencies from time to time. And they have to be dealt with properly and in care and concern, not as just a common criminal who's willingly and knowingly committing a crime. So the Marion County SO, their acronym is MCSO while I'm reading this. There was a morbidity committee consisting of jail management and medical staff from Heart of Florida, which contracts to provide medical care at the jail, reviewed Fletcher's records following her death. The committee found no areas of concern with the case and indicated that proper procedures were followed without providing any details. Well, you don't get to do that. You don't get to have a morbidity committee with people that are probably getting paid. Obviously, I mean, the medical staff from Heart of Florida, and they contract with the jail. I want to see an outside person doing this. I want to see an outside gatekeeper looking into this, not somebody that contracts with the jail. I'm sorry, but that's just not really acceptable to me. And I don't think it should be acceptable to the family or anyone else either. So let's see if Hannah has any, let's see here. What was Hannah got to say? Oh yeah, we've already covered that one. Okay. Thank you, Hannah. I appreciate you. And thank you to everyone who's live with us. I appreciate you, because we have to be the gatekeepers for these type of situations. We have to look out for people who have passed away, and there's some type of possibility that their death was not above board, that there was something that could have and should have been done, and that the family needs justice for their death. Whether it be homicide not solved, missing persons not found, but presumed unalived by the hands of someone else, or in jail in this case, where this person had already had many mental health concerns leading up to what happened in the jail, that this so far to me was highly preventable. So let me finish here with this article. The Gazette asked MCSO spokesperson Lieutenant Paul Bloom about the agency's policy for using the state's Baker Act, that's what I was talking about earlier, on people in custody who demonstrate the intention to harm themselves or others. Quote, each deputy, patrol, or detention is given the discretion, Bloom responded. However, the parameters are pretty clear as to what qualifies for a Baker Act. If someone was fitting those qualifications, it would be a rare exception in some type of unordinary circumstances that they would not be placed under a Baker Act. By discretion, I mean the deputy can tell the difference in someone by saying, for instance, I wish I was never born, versus someone saying, I just want to die today. The first person may or may not qualify depending on the surrounding circumstances and evidence. As for Fletcher, Bloom wrote, she was placed under special security precautions and suicide watch was in the jail medical area. According to the report, she was treated at the jail medical and did not require outside medical treatment. Fletcher's sister told the Gazette her family was still grieving the loss of Fletcher and had not reviewed the additional records released by MCSO. Despite having difficulty handling all that happened to their loved one, she expressed an understanding as to why Fletcher's ordeal must be reported to the public. Yeah, and that's difficult because a lot of families want to grieve in private. They don't want everybody talking about it. They don't want me talking about it. This was their sister, their daughter, their cousin, their friend. But some cases associate with other cases, other loved ones who are suffering, other people that have died. And when all of you can collectively come together and discuss what happened to your loved one, and it might make sense that this was not good behavior by whoever was supposed to be caring for them in custody, then that's important. It's important that you all discuss and figure out, was this something that could have been prevented? Because that I believed your loved one would want to. They would want to help prevent this from happening in the future. Because many times when someone passes away, we learn from what happened to them. We learn from their poor police investigation. We learn from the officers judging the situation in a way they shouldn't have judged it, which led to them investigating this missing person, Sarah Ebersol, in a way that was way too slow and way too lazy. And they missed an opportunity to investigate possibly the person who unalived her and get a search warrant for his car and for another person of interest car and hotel room. And they missed that opportunity because they treated it as someone who just ran off, who just took off for a few days and didn't tell their family, when that wasn't this person's habit ever. So when we can all come together as a community, and those of you that have lost a loved one can come together and share what happened to your loved one while they were in custody. And in this case, in this jail where they are writing 4 times more deaths than any other jail, then that's how we do community activism. That's how we activate, how we do this advocacy. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to continue looking into this. We will continue reading the article that was written. Looks like a very good investigative article by the woman from the Ocala Gazette. And I'm also going to try to reach out to them to see if I can get a comment from them or get any more information that would help us. And we will continue looking into this and many of the other deaths that have taken place in the last few years at the Marion County Jail to see if there's any more issues with what happened to these people. Did they die of natural causes? Did they die of old age? Well, probably not necessarily in a county jail, but it's possible if an elderly person was in county jail waiting for their trial, or their trial was held up, it's possible, or there could be violence in the jail as well that could cause someone to be unalived. So we'll look into that, because I'm interested in it, and I'm sure that many people in Marion County and the surrounding counties would be interested to know why they are ranking at such a high rate of deaths in custody. So thank you for hanging with me tonight while we spoke of the tragic death of Miss Fletcher, and we'll hopefully have more information to share with you next week or the following week. So Hannah, let's see what she says. I have a link I will email and share if anyone wants to submit a letter to their younger self. Thank you, Hannah. So let me share with you, and I'll just take a second here. I have to pull something up to share that with you. So I will be right back. And I'm just going to let you all hear a message that Hannah left for me today. And you should be able to hear it clearly if I put my speaker on. Hang on a second. Let me turn my speaker on my phone. And Hannah, is that okay that I share your private message that you left for me today? Because I know that had a lot of information. And then if you have the link, you're going to email me the link. So I'll post the link here in the chat box before we close off tonight, if anyone would like to participate in this venture for women's empowerment. Let me go to that message. Is it okay, Hannah? I just really want to get your okay. You're there somewhere. So give me the okay. Oh boy, we've got a alert here. Technology disruption delays United flights. Guys, every time I see a plane come up on my screen, I kind of freak out a little bit, because there's been so much going on with the airplane industry, with the flights, just very scary, near misses, and the ones that have happened. We were actually live streaming during both of the horrific plane crashes that happened this past spring. We were literally on the air live streaming when they both happened. It was just terrible. People started putting it up in my friend zone area chat box here, and it's just very concerning. I'm in no rush to get back on a plane anytime soon. Hence why I've been driving back and forth to Wisconsin so much. I really don't want to be on a plane. Okay, Hannah, I'm not hearing back from you. So I think it's going to be okay to play this message that you left me. So I will play that for everybody. And I'll put up any notes in the chat box regarding this project that Hannah, a survivor of domestic violence attempted homicide, is working on.
To write letters to their younger selves.
Okay, let me get that started.
Okay, yeah, it's actually a book that this lady Gina is putting together, and she wants like 30 women to submit letters to our younger selves.
So far, I hope you can hear that okay. A woman that Hannah's working with is writing a book, and she would like 30 volunteers to submit letters that they would write to their younger selves. I'll let it keep going. Hopefully you guys can hear it okay.
It's called Dear Daughters.
Dear Daughters.
My submission is just like one chapter, or I don't know, it's like 1,862 words, but she's looking for other women to write letters to their younger selves. So I wanted to know if you wanted to be involved.
I would definitely like to be involved.
Anywhere between 1,500 to 2,000 words.
Wow.
And yeah, I have a doctor's appointment at 3:00, but do call me back and let me know.
Okay, Hannah, thank you. And I'm very interested, Hannah. I would love to be involved if there's space for me. I mean, I want as many women who really want this to be involved, but I would love to. I would love to if she has room for me. So I'm going to check my email here. If I don't get the link from Hannah before I close off tonight, I will post it on my Twitter X account. I will post it on my Facebook account, and I will post it in the replay of this live stream, so that you can any of you that want to participate, that want to be one of the first 30 to volunteer to write a letter to your younger self. I love this idea. It's fascinating. So thank you, Hannah, for drawing that to my attention. And also I'll repost a link for Hannah's book that she wrote on her survival of a domestic violence attempted homicide. Her husband attempted to unalive her, and she survived and wrote a book about it. and she's an amazing advocate. She has helped me advocate for Sarah Ebersol, for justice for Jason Veach, Deshaun Hudson, Ellen Greenberg, many of the other ladies of domestic violence that are still don't have justice that we've been advocating for the past year. Some of them are close to going to trial. Some of them are not. So I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the ladies that we are still standing for here at Social Change Warriors. So if you'll just give me a moment, I'm going to pull up my slide deck so I can run through the advocacy that we are involved with here at Social Change Warriors for these victims of the horrific violence that has been caused by their partners. So just want to give you just a brief overview before we close out for tonight, the victims that we're still advocating for here at Social Change Warriors. And most of them, we have done their own live streams. So you can go into our library on our channel, Social Change Warriors, and you can check out what happened to these beautiful women and why we're advocating for them and what is happening with their, what I consider in many of these cases, stalled investigations, and or the husband or boyfriend or fiance has been arrested, but their trial has not happened yet, or they haven't pled anything yet. So we have Ellen Greenberg on the left and Suzanne Morphew in the center and Sandra Birchmore. They were all, in my opinion, unalived by their significant others. Ellen Greenberg's case was deemed an unaliving of herself, which her parents have been fighting since 2011, and they're still fighting it. There's been a lot of updates for her case, and I will again do another live show soon about what's going on with Ellen's current case, which is supposed to be back in review, medical review. So Suzanne Morphew, recently, her former husband, well, she's passed away, but she was missing for quite a long time, and they arrested her husband, but they unarrested him because they didn't have enough evidence and they had not found her body. So she was missing for quite a long time. They did find her body accidentally, and he was then just recently rearrested. Sandra Birchmore also was framed for her own unaliving. I mean, this is just horrific. We have two vibrant, beautiful young women, both framed for their own unaliving. And if Barry would have had his way, Suzanne would have never been found. So she would have been presumed missing and unalived by some stranger. But Sandra Birchmore's, the person who framed her, was a Stoughton, Massachusetts police officer, and he was arrested. The charges that were brought against him were by the federal government, not the Massachusetts government. They have yet to charge him with anything. So we've been following along with the case with Mizzy, who is Sandra's lead advocate. And we've done several live streams on all three of these ladies. So you can check our library on YouTube if you're interested in in-depth information about them. And we'll continue to update you on justice for Ellen Ray Greenberg. Her case is still ruled an unaliving of herself, which is absolutely impossible. She was stabbed 20 times, including a very bad blunt force trauma wound to the back of her head. And her parents have been fighting for that to be overturned to a homicide since 2011. And like I said, you can get a lot more details from my live streams that I've done on the life and death of Ellen Greenberg. This is her fiance. In my expert opinion, should be a person of interest, should have always been a person of interest, but there was never an investigation done. Her death was immediately ruled an unaliving of herself by the police, even though the medical examiner originally ruled it a homicide due to the 20 stab wounds, but was in some type of what has been called by the private investigator, a very clandestine secret meeting of the Philadelphia police and the medical examiner at the time, Osborne, and he reversed his decision and called it an unaliving of herself. We're not allowed to say the S word on YouTube anymore for some reason, even though it's a word in the dictionary. I have a problem with that. But unaliving is why we say that now. But it was definitely not an unaliving of herself. Nobody who knows anything at all about what happens to a person when they attempt to unalive themselves. And anybody in the medical field and any former cop that I've ever spoken to in the last years that I have been following this case of the tragic death of Ellen believes that she did this to herself. And there was really no one else that could really be a suspect based on her lifestyle and what her friends and her family have to say about her. This is the only suspect, her fiance at the time, in my opinion. Suzanne Morphew went missing on Mother's Day, and they believe that was her last day on this earth, 5/20/2020. She was missing for several years, and there was just really no leads, but there was some very circumstantial evidence that she could have been unalived by her domestic partner, her husband, Barry Morphew. So he was arrested and then unarrested because her body was never found, and they didn't feel they had enough evidence to take him to trial and successfully have a jury of his peers convict him. And then it's over. If they would have found her body, or if there would have been new evidence and he would have been, not convicted and he would have been freed, then there is no way they could have, double jeopardied him. So he wouldn't have been able to be arrested again. And then that would have been a real travesty. So I was in favor of them releasing him because they really did not have enough, and they couldn't have successfully taken that case through to a jury. There's no way a jury could have found him guilty, in my opinion, and I think many others as well. Hi, Brittany, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Brittany is also an advocate for victims. One of her dear friends who we have mentioned many times and we have live streamed about, Deshaun Hudson, and we will be speaking about Deshaun again very soon. We're doing some instrumental work in his case, trying to find out why his unaliving was not a homicide and why it was ruled a homicide by the medical examiner, but the police did not arrest anyone. They are basing that on the Florida Stand Your Ground law, which is similar to the Jason Veach case. So we'll be reviewing both of those cases again soon. First, the Deshaun Hudson case. We're still in the middle of going over all those police reports. So we'll be doing another live with Brittany and about Deshaun's tragic death again very soon. So we are now, what happened with Suzanne Morphew, giving you my update, is that she was found. She was accidentally found. They were looking for another missing person, and they found her, and they were able to do an autopsy that took quite a long time because of the decomposition. Sorry, I should have said trigger alert. It's very hard to say these things of her body, but they were able to find that her bones had a chemical cocktail in her bones that was similar to almost exactly, I believe they stated, the same cocktail that was used in guns that they use to put animals to sleep, tranquilizer rifles, tranquilizer guns. And lo and behold, Barry had the cocktail. He was the only one in the state of Colorado that had permission to have such a cocktail at that time. So that's way more than circumstantial evidence. And they were, along with the other evidence they were arrested him again a few months ago, and now he is awaiting trial. So I'll be giving you updates as we get closer to what's going on with the incarceration. He's currently not denied bail, so he's in jail. I'll find out more soon, hopefully, about his upcoming hearing. We've also been advocating for Sandra Birchmore. Sandra was living in Canton, Massachusetts, working in Stoughton, Massachusetts, where she had been groomed since the age of 13 by Stoughton police officers. We know for sure one or two. The other two, we're not sure what role they played. That's still all under investigation. I have my opinions on that, and we have live streamed on the life and death of Sandra Birchmore. So again, feel free to go to our library if you'd like to know more about Sandra Birchmore, and I'll continue to do updates and advocacy as Matthew Farwell, who was the police officer in Stoughton that framed her, we believe, allegedly, in my opinion, and many others, for her own death while she was 3 months pregnant. And it was presumed at the time that it was his child based on Sandra's verbalizing that it was his child. Since then, we have come to find out that there is no DNA match for him. And we don't know as of right now whose child she was carrying. she thought it was his, or she led him to believe it was his, so he believed it was his. And that's what they believe was the reasoning why he unalived her and framed her for her own death, was to cover up the fact that she was going to have his child, and she was getting ready to possibly expose the abuse from when she was a child. Very messy, ugly, dirty that was done to Sandra Birchmore, and it's shameful. And every police officer is horrified. Every good police officer is horrified by the actions of these four men, because in most of our opinions, all four of these men need to be in prison. Matthew Farwell is in prison, still has not had a hearing. They have backed up his hearing multiple times. He was supposed to have a hearing August 12th or 13th. That has now been moved to October. And everyone's just left wondering what is going on. Why is the federal government continuing to move his hearing? Most recently, it was stated that the defense didn't have all of their discovery ready. Well, how is that possible? It's been a whole year. Why didn't the defense have their discovery ready? And how did they just get away with that? The family wants justice and needs justice and deserves a speedy trial in this case, in my opinion. Robert Devine has been going through all kinds of hearings for decertification, but he has not been arrested yet for any participation in the grooming of Sandra Birchmore. But in my opinion, he most certainly did participate. There's evidence pointing towards it, as well as William Farwell, Matthew's twin brother, and Joshua Heel. We're not really sure what's going on with him. He admitted to S relations with her when she was 18 and over. But I don't see how he didn't know about what was going on with these other three nefarious characters, because they all work together. And it's not a big department. You're talking 30 to 40 officers max in the Stoughton Police Department, plus upper chain of command staff. So my jury's still out. My jury is not out on William, Matthew, and Robert. My jury is still out on Joshua. I don't really know what role he played when she was underage, if any. But even so, he broke the rules of his work, because he admitted to these relations happening sometimes in his squad car while he was getting paid. So he needs to lose his certification. He should never be allowed to be a police officer again. And there should be some type of heavy duty reprimand for his behavior with an 18-year-old and where he was doing this nefarious activity. So we'll find out more about what's going on with him. But his name was redacted in a lot of the information because they were trying to keep him out of it, because they don't have evidence that he was involved when she was under 18. That's what I've been told, and I'll find out more information as we go forward as well. So Sandra Birchmore, we'll be speaking with Mizzy, and maybe she'll even come back on. She has her own live stream, so it's hard to get her. She's a very busy person, but she's always on top of everything to do with Sandra Birchmore. Now, Sarah Ebersol and Suzanne Clark Simpson and Ashley Lachey Elkins, they are all still missing. They're not here with us anymore. They were unalived. They're not just out there wandering around trying to lead a different life with new IDs. These women have all been unalived, in my opinion. There's an outside chance that Sarah could have been trafficked and could still be alive, but the evidence of death for Suzanne Clark Simpson and Ashley Lachey have led the police to determine that both of these lovely young women and mothers were unalived by their spouses. In the case of Suzanne Clark Simpson, her husband, and in the case of Ashley Lachey Elkins, her old boyfriend. Sarah is still missing, but there was no evidence of any type of a crime. No blood evidence, no DNA evidence. She literally vanished. That's what we're looking at for Sarah Ebersol. But we know that's not possible. We know someone knows where she is. We know someone knows what did they do to her? Did they traffic her, or did they unalive her and put her somewhere in Marion County? Oh, sorry, buddy. Hang on just a second. Oh, my puppy's having a dream. You're okay, buddy. So anyway, this is outrageous. This is atrocious. These three beautiful, vibrant mothers should all be with their children. They should be with their families. And we're going to continue advocating for them until we find out. Let me go back 1 second. What happened to Sarah Ebersol, where she is, and who's going to pay for that. And Suzanne Clark Simpson's husband was arrested several months ago. He's in jail, no bond. And Ashley Lachey Elkins' old boyfriend was arrested no bond in jail. But there's just been some preliminary hearings for both of them, and I'll try to find out more information and update us on that as we go forward into the month of August. So rest in peace to all three of these lovely young mothers. I hope to God that you are found and at least you can be reunited in your bodies for funerals for your family's sake. In the case of Sarah, we're still not sure. I feel like there is a minimal possibility given on the evidence that I've seen and things that her sister has spoken to me about, that there is a slim possibility that Sarah was actually kidnapped and trafficked. But I don't know. I mean, it's been 2.5 years and there's the evidence is just so weak as to what happened to her because there's no blood evidence, no DNA. We don't have anything. All we have is that she was in a car with a person of interest, Tyrone Mormon, at approximately 4 a.m., that she partied before that with 3 people that lived in a duplex in Reddick. One of them, Bubba Robinson, is no longer with us. He suffered an OD of drugs and passed away over a year ago. And the other 2, Tisha and James Schaller. James Schaller's in and out of jail, but he cooperated with the police. He's been interviewed several times. Tisha cooperated with the police. She's been interviewed several times. And their only statements were that they saw Sarah leaving with Tyrone Mormon in Tyrone Mormon's vehicle, which turned out to be his girlfriend's vehicle. And that was the last they saw her. And Tyrone will not speak. He will not talk about where he drove her. Did he drop her off at her old boyfriend, her old partner, the father of her child? Because Sarah had indicated that she wanted to see the father of her child, that she wanted to give him money because he was basically holding their daughter hostage from her. He was forcing her to give him money, child support that she could not afford, because he tricked the court system. And I am saying that with confidence based on what I know. He tricked the court system into taking custody from Sarah. So he had full custody, and there was a custody child support order against Sarah, who was a single mom working as a nightclub dancer, exotic dancer. You know, that's not making a ton of money, and was expected to pay child support to a person who tricked her out of custody of their child and had been abusing her and had had restraining orders against him in the past. This whole case is so messed up and is such a travesty, and by God should have been solved by now. You're dealing with 5 people, and one of them has passed away, and potentially another witness that was in Tyrone's car has passed away, but we don't have any real confirmation on that. I have minimal confirmation from the Marion County sheriffs that there was another person in the car with Tyrone, but that person is no longer alive. But there's some confusion. Was that James Robinson? Did he get in the car with Tyrone, and did they both take Sarah away from the Reddick house? And that's the person the Marion County Sheriff's is referring to me is passed away? Or is there another person that was in the car and they're also passed away, which would mean 2 witnesses are gone. And we have 2 left, plus Tyrone, 3 witnesses. Sarah's a witness to her own demise, but she can't tell us because we can't find her. So this is a very disturbing and very upsetting case. And according to Brittany, yes, Tyrone Mormon needs to tell where Sarah is. Of course he does. It doesn't make any sense on this planet why Tyrone Mormon is not telling the authorities where he drove Sarah. They have proof that their phones pinged at the gas station where she was originally picked up with Bubba in a truck by Bubba's friend and driven to the Reddick house to party with Tisha and James Schaller. So why isn't he telling us? His phone was pinging with her. So unless he's protecting someone who he loaned his phone to, and that person was with Sarah last, or he's protecting Joe Mayton, her former long ago boyfriend, was the current father of her child. They were having major custody problems, major issues co-parenting their daughter because of Joe's treatment of her. There are numerous emails and correspondence that Sarah saved that we have seen on Michelle's Facebook page regarding this difficulty. So Tyrone, I've asked you many times on our live streams, why don't you want to be out of this? You are a person of interest. The Marion County Sheriffs have named you as a person of interest. They told me personally on the phone that you're a person of interest and you're on their poster, the missing poster for Sarah. So why aren't you telling the truth? Why aren't you telling us what happened to Sarah that night? Did something happen to her that was beyond your control and you're afraid to tell us? Did you drive her home and then you saw Joe show up, so you're afraid to tell us because Joe has threatened you? What are the options here? There's only so many options of what could have happened to Sarah Ebersol and who could have done it. So we need action. We need action. We need to find Sarah. Somehow there's got to be more searches done. We need more volunteers. We need to go back out and search the whole area surrounding where she was last seen, if that's possible. Michelle has done everything in her power to find her sister. This young woman has dedicated her current life to advocating and finding her sister. And it's an absolute tragedy that an entire county sheriff's department can't find one missing mother. It's upsetting. And I watched Nancy Grace get upset about this. So we know we're not the only ones. Floridians and Marion County residents and Volusia County and Ocala, city of Ocala, Gainesville, Jacksonville, Daytona Beach, New Smyrna Beach, Ormond Beach, Holly Hill, everybody over there on the west, Dunellen, Crystal River. Everyone should care about what happened to Sarah Ebersol. She was the mom. She has a daughter. Someday her daughter is going to be old enough and ask, what happened to my mommy? And what's going to be told? We don't know, because Joe Mayton won't allow the baby to see the daughter, to see the family. Sarah's family has zero contact with this child because Joe won't allow it. And that's unacceptable. Why the courts are allowing that makes zero sense to me. It's just not right. Now, I know the courts can only do so much, but this should be a red flag. This is a big red flag that Sarah's former partner, the father of her child, will not let the family see this child. The only family she has left. Her mother has been disappeared for 2.5 years by the hands of someone else. Enough is enough. It's time to figure this crime out, Marion County. And if you can't do it, okay, then admit you can't do it. You're stuck. You don't know where else to go with this case. Close it. Turn it over to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. Let them get involved. Maybe the FBI would like to get involved, but they can't do it without you relinquishing it. So Sarah's soldiers are on Facebook daily, because there is no utter excuse why 5 people that were with this young woman on her last night on this planet, we believe, or if she was trafficked, know what happened to her. They have to. One of these people knows. So for goodness gracious sake, let's figure this out. Sarah is crying out from wherever she is, whether it's being trafficked currently or in heaven. My life mattered. It's time to get justice for Sarah Ebersol. She deserves it. Her family deserves it. Her sister deserves it. Sorry, I didn't mean to take that off. I get worked up about this because it's Wednesday. And on Wednesdays, we swear. And on Wednesdays, we get to be angry bitches. We get to be angry bees because all the people we're advocating for deserve justice and they're not getting it. And it's time. It's time that some of these lovely people are moved over to our memory wall and not on our current case wall. These cases need to be solved. These people need justice. Their families need justice. And it's time for Sarah Ebersol to be found. It's time for Tyrone Mormon to tell the truth. Where did you drive Sarah Ebersol? We freaking know she was in your car. There's evidence, there's witnesses, and there's phone evidence. So where did you drive her? It's a simple freaking question. If you didn't hurt her, if you didn't unalive her, tell us where you drove her. If you're being threatened by someone else, then there's protection for you for that. Please, please tell us where you drove Sarah Ebersol so we can figure out who actually hurt her and where she is. We know you're not going to talk, Joe. You're a silent, stone cold. So we know you're not talking. I'm going to ask you to talk. But Cora, we feel for you. All of us love you in our own way because we've been advocating for your mother. Some of us 2 years, some of us a year. Sarah's soldiers over in Marion County and surrounding areas. And Karen was on with us last week and telling us what a great support network Michelle has and how hard Michelle is fighting for justice for her sister. So it's time to talk, Tyrone. It's way past time. Get yourself into the Marion County Sheriff's Department and tell the freaking truth. Where did you drive Sarah Ebersol? We know we're not getting anything out of you, but someday. Suzanne Clark Simpson, still missing. This nefarious, nasty MNFer unalived her because of a domestic dispute. It happens every day. 3 women are unalived every day in America by their significant other. It's atrocious. It's preventable. You have to see something, say something, please. I know people don't like getting involved in this. In the olden days, when I was a girl growing up in the 70s, it was considered a family business, family's business, not the police. The police very rarely took calls of domestic violence. They didn't even call it that back then. It was family troubles. But now we know that it's not that it's domestic violence. It's violence on women by their spouses or their boyfriends or their loved ones. Constant violence, daily violence, whether it's verbal or physical. And when the physical gets out of control and the husband or the fiance or the boyfriend has no more sense of themselves and they allow their own anger to well up, they unalive their spouses. And some of them hide them because they want to keep continuing to live their life. They want to go on and live their best life. And they figure if they can't find her, then I'm not going to jail. And that's exactly what this guy had in his thoughts, in his evil brain, was if I can hide her, I won't get arrested. I won't go to jail. That's exactly 3 ways I say that this goes down. When a man unalives a significant other, he either unalives himself immediately and or the children, which is devastating and horrific and preventable. He unalives the woman and then hides her body so that it can never be found, which is what happened to Jennifer Dulos and was going on for Suzanne Morphew, but luckily she was found. Ashley Lachey Elkins and Suzanne Clark Simpson. And Anna Walsh. They have not been found. Their husbands successfully hid them, and in many cases they were not being arrested. There was no evidence, but there was evidence that came up, and her husband did get arrested and is in jail, and hopefully Brad will stay there and go to trial. It doesn't look like he's going to give up any information as to where she is for her friends and family, but I will find out more information on when his trial is due to start and what's going on. There were some issues with evidence. He was trying to get evidence suppressed. They arrested an associate of his who supposedly hid one of the weapons that they believe he used to big trigger alert, dismember her. It's disgusting and horrible and sad. And if he did this, which I believe he did, and many people do, then he needs to rot in jail for the rest of his miserable life. And I feel so terrible for her family. We'll continue to advocate that her remains are found, or that he finally tells someone where he put his lovely wife after he hurt her and unalived her and took her life by his own hands. Ashley Lachey Elkins was also unalived by her former boyfriend. And sadly, the spokesperson for the family said that they did meet with the police and that they do believe she is deceased, not just missing. They felt that even though they don't have her body, they felt there was enough evidence that would indicate that this man, who was her former boyfriend, unalived her and disposed of her. I don't have an update yet. I'll have to check into that for you for next week as to what's happening, what the status is with his. He was in jail, no bond, as far as I knew, and I don't believe he's confessed yet. So I'll get on that for you. I haven't had a chance to update myself on this case in the last month that I was busy with my travels, so I'll get on that soon. And then Anna Walsh is presumed dead and unalived. Also, trigger alert, dismembered by her husband, never has been found. Brian Walsh is set to go to trial, but there's a lot of issues going on. So I'll have a little bit more of an in-depth update next week on Anna and Brian. It's just unbelievable. The police that were involved in the John O'Keefe death and Karen Reed trial are also involved in the Brian Walsh investigation. And it appears that they did some things they weren't supposed to do, which is, i.e., collected evidence without a proper warrant, took evidence into custody without any warrant for a iPad that was belonging to Brian Walsh's child, where he did Google searches. Now, the new information is that the judge did rule that they will allow the Google search into trial, which is a huge win for the prosecution, and a big L for Brian. Sorry, Brian, not sorry. But there's other issues too that could still go on, where he may try to get certain evidence thrown out, where we're waiting to find out what's going to happen with that. But it's an absolute, sorry to swear, but it's Wednesday shit show. And that involves police malfeasance and really crappy police work by the Massachusetts State Police once again, which could have caused someone to go free. But let's hope not, since the judge did approve of the Google searches, which are very damning. And I'll go over those. We'll do a little bit longer live stream next week on Anna Walsh, but the Google searches involved how to dismember a body, how to hide a body, and not get caught. I mean, just crazy on the iPad of their child. So this man is insane. He abused her for years prior to her going missing. It's just horrible and horrific. And I'm so sorry for Anna Walsh and her family and friends. And I always like to give homage to Jennifer Farber-Dulos, whose husband unalived himself, which, as I was saying, is the third option. They either unalive themselves or they hide you so you can't be found. It's horrible. Or they eventually do confess if they've been caught. But many of them do not. They just go to trial and they either get off or they go to jail, but they maintain that they didn't do it, even though all the evidence points to that they did, and the statistics point to that they did this. Jennifer's husband unalived himself when he realized there was no getting out of it. He was out on bail and unalived himself in his own garage using his car. And he never admitted to any of it. And he never told anyone, including their 5 children and her mother, where he put her, which is just sickening and egregious. His girlfriend is now in jail, serving 14 years for participation in the disposal of her body, which a jury was able to believe that she did participate in that, even though she pled not guilty and swore that she never had anything to do with the death of Jennifer or the hiding of her body. But she was convicted by a jury, and that was last spring. So she's serving out, I believe it's a 14-year sentence, 12 to 14, can't remember exactly. But justice for Jennifer Farber-Dulos, whose family still has never been able to have a proper funeral for her, and the mother of 5. Absolutely horrific and horrible. Again, preventable. The signs were definitely there. If she only could have gotten out sooner. A restraining order is a piece of paper, but it helps. It can help a little bit. But in this case, I believe Photos was always going to do something horrible to Jennifer and try to get away with it. So I don't know that a restraining order in her case would have really been helpful. It's just incredibly sad. Screaming Daisy says, I hope Proctor didn't interfere in this case so Brian gets off. Yeah, but we hope not. And not just Proctor, but Buchanan as well, because they didn't write their police reports on time. That's a big problem. And I'll go over that when we do another live stream, because that's a huge problem, not writing timely police reports. That's completely against protocol, and turning over discovery against protocol. There's all kinds of problems with the Massachusetts State Police. They don't seem to know how to police in Massachusetts, unfortunately. Our stand your ground cases that we've been advocating for, justice for Jason Veach. Jason passed away during a bar fight episode where he was supposedly thought to be the aggressor, but he was only verbally aggressive, and a crowd took him down and held him down, and he was asphyxiated. And they are allowing those people that would have been charged. They're assuming that the people who would have been charged are going to use stand your ground, opposed to just saying, no, we need to write some charges for this. This man should not be dead, and let them play out their Florida stand your ground. But that's not what they did. So we've advocated for justice for Jason Veach for almost a year now. And I'll have to wait on updates for that, because there's court issues going on with this case that I'm not allowed to talk about. Deshaun Hudson, we don't have any court issues right now. We are advocating now with Brittany, who's with us live tonight, on the death of Deshaun Hudson. It was ruled a homicide in Lake County, Florida, but no prosecution, again, due to surmising that the person who shot Deshaun 14 times would be allowed to use the Florida stand your ground. Okay, well, fine. Charge him with charge him with manslaughter and let his lawyer try to use Florida stand your ground. How are you going to use Florida stand your ground when you shoot someone 14 times on an Applebee's surveillance camera in front of witnesses? Come on, Florida. You don't get to abuse the Florida stand your ground law. You don't get to presume that you can't win a case because of the Florida stand your ground law. Not in every instance, maybe in some, but absolutely not in this one. So we're going to try to get a meeting with the Lake City. Was it Lake? Did I say Lake City or is it Lake County? To see if what we can do to find out if there's any possibility that based on their excellently written police reports. Brittany, thank you for sharing those with me. They wrote excellent police reports. They attended to the scene in a manner that Massachusetts would be shocked at. They actually had a CSI unit. They actually had detectives on the scene. They actually interviewed witnesses on the scene. They secured the scene, all things that the Massachusetts State Police and the Canton Police absolutely did not do for John O'Keefe in the death of John O'Keefe and the crazy arrest of Karen Reed with no evidence whatsoever. This man was shot 14 times and there's no arrest. But Karen Reed, hardly any type of evidence that would point to her backing over John O'Keefe with her car. And she's arrested the next day or the second day. I mean, this is crazy what's happening in our country right now, in our communities. Absolutely insane. And everyone should be ashamed of what is happening here. Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate you. And God bless you as well for advocating with me for Sarah and for all of the others. You have become an amazing social change warrior on our team. And I appreciate you and everyone live with me tonight, Screaming Daisies and Hannah, and everyone on the replay tonight. And those of you that are here, I don't know you're here unless you say something in the chat or the friend zone. Thank you for being here and for advocating for victims of homicide who have no justice and their families have no justice. So we'll continue to update you. We'll have another live stream shortly. Brittany and I are working on some things behind the scene, hopefully a little bit tomorrow during the day. So hopefully within the next week to 2 weeks, we'll do another live stream and let you know more about what happened with this just horrific, tragic death of this young man. He should be here today. My life mattered. And I don't have any updates on justice for Daniel Reed Smith. As you all know, we did a live stream with Daniel's parents about 4 months ago, and they're involved in some court issues. So hopefully those are good things for them. Good things will come of it. So we do not live stream when families are involved in the courts because we don't want to jeopardize their hearing or their justice. So I'll let you know what I know and when I know it. But we continue to pray for justice for Daniel Reed Smith and his family, who was also framed for unaliving himself by being hit by a train. But all the evidence pointed that he was run over by a car, and it was covered up by that county because someone in the county was a family member of someone in the car. So it's police, it's corruption. It's government corruption, police corruption, and his family and his father, who's former law enforcement, is fighting for justice for his son. So I will let you know and update you as soon as I can where that stands for justice for this young man who was a father, as well as all of our, I'm sorry, this was supposed to be back with Deshaun. Rest in peace, Deshaun, March 10th, 1984 to March 7th, 2023. Your life mattered and you deserve to be here. So thank you, everyone. That is kind of the catch up of all of the victims of homicide and their families that we're advocating for and have been advocating for since last year when we started. So the good news is for Social Change Warriors is that it has almost been a year. Our first live stream was August 25th of last year. So we'll have a special episode coming up and I'll invite all of my subscribers. We're over 1,000 now. Hopefully to join us in a live stream where we can celebrate the lives of all of the people that we're advocating for and their families, and also celebrate that we have this ability to live stream and to advocate for the families and the victims of these horrific crimes and stand for them for justice. I feel so blessed and honored that I've met so many amazing people in my journey this past 2 years with Social Change Warriors, and the prior to that with the original group of social workers from USC that I was pre-recording with and standing for communities and for change and for changing laws. Some of the laws in our communities are very bad and they don't protect us enough. And we were doing that for quite a number of years prior to my live stream. prior to the Social Change Warriors calling out corruption and the Angry Bitch Club on Wednesdays, and our trial review on Fridays called Friday Night Lies. So thank you everyone so much for joining me tonight. You're all amazing people because you care and you want to advocate for your friends and families, and sometimes they're total strangers to you, but it makes you angry and it upsets you that people are being unalived in record numbers, and we only have a clearance rate of 50% in our country for homicide. And that's not accurate. That's accurate, but it's not acceptable. And we have to fix that. We have to come together as a community. We have to continue to advocate for these cases to not go cold and to be solved, and for the police to do the best job that they can possibly do for your loved one. So I'm grateful for all of you. Thank you for subscribing to our channel. I'm going to put my email here up at the bottom of the screen. And in case if you know of any other victim of being missing or of a homicide and you want us to advocate for them, please let me know. If you have a contact, I like to contact the families and let them know that I'm advocating for their loved ones. I don't just like to go rogue on people. I like to make sure they know that I'm here and why I'm doing this and why I advocate. So here's my email, ACTT, it's ACT with an extra T, MSW, that stands for Master of Social Work, at gmail.com. So I would welcome any of you to email me any tips or any family members' contacts that you would like for me to reach out to, or if you have a question or suggestion or constructive criticism, we welcome those at all times. So tomorrow night, we will not be live streaming. I'm going to be working on the ground here on several of these cases with the families and some of the friends. But Friday night, we'll be back for Friday Night Lies with our resident Bostonian, Julie, who was actually live this week at the hearing in Boston regarding the grand juror who was brought up on charges for leaking grand jury information, which is absolutely a federal offense and is a felony. You cannot do that if you serve on a grand jury. A grand jury is held in secret, and it's to determine if the prosecution has enough evidence to go forward with a jury trial. And the grand jurors know this. They know the rules of when you're called to be on a grand jury. It's quite a high honor because only the prosecution is there with the grand jury members going over all the evidence they have. It's kind of like a checks and balances. Like, do we have enough? Can you help us? Do you believe we have enough? Not every case goes to grand jury. Not every case has to, but in the case of Karen Reed, it was a felony case. So in Massachusetts, it had to go to a grand jury. So this person, Leslie, I'm just not going to say her last name right now, but well, I guess that is her last name. Leslie is her last name. It's in all the media, so I'm not going against any rules because very tricky when it comes to this type of thing. We don't want to be accused of any type of witness intimidation or any type of hatred towards someone who's been accused of a crime. But in this case, she did commit a crime and she has pled guilty, but the hearing went kind of sideways. And so Julie was there live, and she actually met Grant Smith Ellis, who is also a local journalist in Massachusetts who covers a lot of the Massachusetts shenanigans. He and I don't agree on the Karen Reed trial, but we do agree on justice for John O'Keefe, and we do agree on justice for Sandra Birchmore and Enrique Delgado and other issues in Massachusetts. So Julie got to meet him in person. She actually helped him. She helped film him while he was doing his live stream. So Julie's going to tell you all about that on Friday Night Lies. And we'll also be updating you on some of the other cases that we've been covering, and more information coming out about Brian Kohlberger and things. A lot of things have been released in that case as well. So we'll just be giving you an update on several other court cases that we're following here at Social Change Warriors, including all the updates that have to do with justice for John O'Keefe and Aidan Kearney's upcoming hearing. I believe it's the 13th coming up soon, or is it September? I don't remember, but we'll find out. And I want to show a little snippet of Aidan from Saturday night. He had some tech issues and it's hilarious. So I give him a lot of credit for doing his own tech. I do all my own tech, and it can be a little bit overwhelming at times. Some people pay people to be behind the scenes while we're live streaming. They're behind the scenes doing the tech. They're operating the chat box. They have mods in the chat box. They're operating the slide deck, but I do all that myself. And I believe Aidan does the majority of it himself as well. So I give him credit for sticking through his tech issues, but he just keeps live streaming while he's having them, and he's quite funny. He knows he's funny. So I'll show a brief clip of that on Friday Night Lies, as well as Julie sharing her experience being at in Boston in front of Uncle Joe's house, as they call it in Boston, Massachusetts, as well as some other updates. So again, thank you for tonight. Thank you for advocating for victims of homicide and the missing. And thank you for joining me on any of the nights that we live stream and for subscribing to our channel. I appreciate all of you. Remember, everyone that's been unalived, they are crying out to us, telling us, my life mattered. It's just us. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge of name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power, but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight. The heroes undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall. For justice and truth, we'll risk it all. My life mattered is the cry we sing. Together we rise, let freedom ring. They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge of name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. elected power, but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they try to bury within. It's just us, we're movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for hid wounds, undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall for justice and truth, we'll risk it all. My life matters.